Do you need to be anxiety-free to heal your chronic pain and symptoms? Ooh, this is a big question. You've probably asked yourself this many times. Do I need to be anxiety-free to heal my chronic pain and chronic symptoms? So when we come to a brain and nervous system approach to treating neuroplastic pain and symptoms, we understand that our body's not damaged or diseased, and what's actually taking place is our brain's been stuck in a heightened state of danger and survival for too long, causing it to click on pain or physical symptoms. And a lot of people understand that chronic anxiety, chronically being anxious, panic attacks, they increase the level of danger my brain feels. So the conclusion that people get to is I must be anxiety-free to heal my debilitating chronic pain, chronic symptoms. I had this thought early on when I was healing. And for context, I felt chronic anxiety since a really young age. And I think a lot of people that have faced childhood adversity, trauma, overwhelming situations in the past, we get to this chronic state of anxiety, often known as the flight response. And so I was terrified. I was like, how am I going to become pain-free if I always have anxiety? And this is a really common question I get asked by almost every person I meet with. And the answer is this: you do not need to be anxiety-free to heal your chronic pain, chronic symptoms. Yes, we want to reduce anxiety. We want to do the brain retraining, the thought work, the somatic work to reduce our anxiety. But if you see anxiety as this big barrier for you, what'll happen is then people start to resist anxiety. They try to make it go away. When they start to feel anxiety, they have this almost anxiety about the anxiety. They fear the anxiety itself because they think, oh, this is going to worsen my pain or physical symptoms. I'm going to get a flare. And so people try to push it down and resist ever feeling that. And one of the worst things for nervous system dysregulation is resisting feeling things, trying to push them down, not allow ourselves to feel it. And so this is why this question, I thought I'd make a video on, because if you have this belief that you need to be anxiety-free to heal your symptoms, you're going to then resist it, view it as dangerous, and that in turn is actually going to make your anxiety and your pain and symptoms far worse. And so what we need to actually do is come to understand that you can have anxiety and teach your brain and nervous system to feel anxiety, but not have pain and symptoms. Like, these things get linked together, partly because our beliefs around anxiety triggering symptoms, but partly because we just haven't felt safe with anxiety. So as a result, they get linked together. Anxiety and pain, or anxiety and symptoms, but we can unlink them. We can separate these out. Like 3 days ago, due to some things in my business, I felt a moderate level of anxiety for a couple of hours. And I didn't get a pain or symptom flare randomly. That didn't take place because I've learned to embody anxiety, get exposure with it, and cultivate safety with it. So today I'm going to go through a somatic practice with you to help cultivate safety with your anxiety, create a new relationship with it. And by practicing this consistently, what will take place is our pain and symptoms can actually start to come down. For myself, I used to be able to only tolerate a very small amount of anxiety. We almost call this the healing window, where all I could tolerate was almost like nervousness before I became incredibly dysregulated. Now I can tolerate almost near panic, and don't get me wrong, it's uncomfortable, but I can tolerate being within my body and feeling safe with it. And so in this practice today, I also want you to all bear in mind your own healing window, because it's better to practice somatic work with anxiety when it's at like a mild to moderate level at first. And over time, your window will widen. You'll be able to tolerate sitting with more and more and feeling safe. But at first, just start mild to moderate. You know, if you're having a panic attack or high anxiety, I have a safety signals practice I'll put down below. That's more what you want to do when you have really high anxiety levels or panic. You don't want to drop into your body and get exposure to it because it's just too much. But essentially, what we're doing with the somatic practice is I'm helping you get exposure to approaching anxiety, no longer resisting it, and also creating safety with it. This is what helps create embodiment, exposure to sensation within, and then creating safe connection. And by doing this, as I've said, you're going to change the relationship you have with your anxiety. And by doing that, it's less likely to trigger pain or physical symptoms in the future. So now let's go through a somatic practice for anxiety. So just get comfortable, close your eyes, lower your gaze. And at first, just slowing down your breathing, deep belly breathing as you inhale through your nose, filling your belly and lungs full of warm air. And exhale through your nose, nice long exhale, really drawing it out. Just taking a few breaths to settle into your body. And now let's practice approaching and getting exposure to being with our anxiety. Remember, this practice isn't to run away or avoid it. It's to approach the sensations of anxiety within and cultivate safety with them. So just scan your body from the top of your head to the bottom of your feet. And just notice where the sensations of anxiety are taking place. Perhaps your heart is beating quickly, your breathing is shallow, you could have constriction in your chest, or maybe your limbs are feeling tight and tense, or maybe a little bit shaky. But just identify where you're experiencing anxiety and just describe it. Drop in and just describe it in detail, how it's presenting. Really deepen your connection with it. Maybe notice what shape, size, color, or texture the sensations are. Perhaps noticing where the sensations start and end in your body. And it's noticing all of the subtleties, not just the intense place where you feel the anxiety in your body, but all the subtleties, the less intense places. Just really mapping out how you're experiencing it. And if it's feeling a little too overwhelming to focus on, I always tell people you can more focus on maybe the edges of the sensations of anxiety. Like right on the edge where it starts to fade into feeling more neutral. Like focus there for a bit if it's feeling too much, to focus right at the intense parts. And remind your brain, your nervous system, that these sensations are objectively safe. You're okay to be in your body with them. Yes, they're unpleasant. We don't want to attend to them, but this is a normal response in your nervous system. This anxious or flight response, it's a normal human response. You're meant to feel this. And by approaching it, reminding yourself that these sensations are safe, we can allow that wave of anxiety to naturally just take place. And over time, this will pass. It will fade out. And now, let's shift to using a few safety signals. At first, we're just going to do a type of breathing I call the triple inhale sigh. So I'll explain it first, and then we'll do a handful of them. So as you inhale through your nose, you're going to inhale 3 times really quick, and then you're going to exhale and sigh out loud through your mouth. And so when you inhale, the first inhale fills your lower abdomen, second fills your upper abdomen, third fills your chest, and then you sigh out loud, audibly, out through your mouth. Let's begin. As you do this, just continue to remind your brain that the anxious sensations are safe to be with, that you can move through them. Each time you sigh out loud, lean into any feelings of release or relief it creates. We'll do one more. And now I want you to scan your body and shift to an area of your body that feels more pleasant or neutral after doing this breathing. Even if it's just a small area. And once you find a pleasant or neutral area to focus on, really allow yourself to dive into it, shift away from the anxiety or anything unpleasant, and just really savor this neutral or pleasant sensation in detail. And once you feel like you've really touched into it, deepened your connection with this pleasant or neutral sensation, we're just going to practice shifting. And so with shifting, you're going to shift back and forth between the area that feels pleasant or neutral, focusing on that for a bit, and then shift to any anxious sensations you still feel, being there with them, deepen your connection with them, and just go back and forth between these two areas at whatever rhythm feels right for you. Just shifting back and forth. Notice what happens to the sensations of anxiety as you just teach your brain that all these sensations are safe, pleasant or unpleasant, that you can be in your body with them and you can embody them. Just get exposure and create safety with them. Just take one more deep breath. And then you can come back to the room. So I hope this practice was helpful. Please put your questions or comments down below. Hit the like button, subscribe to my channel, and I'll talk to you all soon. Take care.